Join me for a flip through and a mixed media painting process. I wasn't sure what I wanted to work on today, so I decided to do a flip through of my old art folios to jumpstart my creative process. The paintings in this folio are mostly mixed media and collage on paper. Some of them are from different challenges that I've participated in over the years. As I look back over the artwork, I can see how I'm drawn to the same color palettes and a lot of the same themes. In this folio, I have a variety of art. I have some abstracts that are just basically me exploring colors on paper, and I really like to do sketch work with graphite and watercolor. I have some coloring pages mixed in here from, I think it was like a workbook or something, and I have some copies of my own artwork that I colored, and this looks like a doodle from one of my family members, I think, made that. As you can see, it's a variety of different artworks and sketches that I've collected over time. When I'm working on my artwork, I like to practice with different color palettes because I like to see how they work together and how the colors relate to each other. When I came across these rainbow drawings, marker drawings, I was kind of excited because I forgot that I had done them, and I'm actually working on some new artwork, rainbow artwork this year, so I thought that was really interesting to see that I had been working on those for so long. These are copies of sketches from my art journal. I like to keep them for coloring pages, but I decided to add this one to my art journal today. My art journals don't always have a theme, but this one I use specially to make portrait illustrations. I'm going to be working with this one, and I'm going to make a page that's similar to my previous illustration that I made. Now, I did make a video of the process for this one, so I'm just showing that I'm going to try my best to use it as an inspiration and make that portrait on a different page. I was feeling a bit nervous as I started to set up my page because I haven't been working with portraits really. I've been working more with abstract and other subjects. So even though I was going to be tracing the sketch and then painting, it was going to be a challenge for me. So here I'm just taking the carbon paper, because when I decided to trace the image onto the paper with the carbon paper, I just want to place it on the page and where I want to trace it. And I'm going to use the tools. Now these tools came with the tracing paper and the carbon paper, and I like using the tools instead of the pencils to trace it on there or to transfer it. I chose the medium tool, and I made the time lapse because it takes a while for me to do it. I'm not tracing every single line, I'm just getting the bare minimum. I've got some round brushes, a flat brush, and I'm going to start off with the watercolor. I was fighting a lot of resistance as I started this process. I hadn't been recording very much or sharing that much because I had a lot going on, and I ended up having a really bad burnout situation. It was a tough day to kind of get back in the swing of things, but I was really trying my best to push through and fight that resistance by moving forward. Even if I wasn't happy with how my page was going, I just tried my best to keep going. I wanted to remember, like, how do I do this again? How do I even record? How do I set this up? It was really difficult to get into the mental space to record a process video. I know that they're not the only thing that I can do, but I think it felt like the easiest way to get going again. To blend the colors for the skin tone and for the hair, I was using a mix of yellow and violet. I was also making violet with, I think it's crimson and cerulean, and I added, to make the page more unified and harmonious, I used violet in the top and in the background. After the watercolor dried, I layered in colored pencil, drawing pencils, and ink tint pencils to add interest and texture and also details. I'm adding an outline of pearlescent white, and I also started adding some of the blue-green into the pearlescent white, and I'm adding splatters also in the background just to give the background some texture, interest, and atmosphere. I was trying to give a better angle so that you could see the way that the pearlescent shimmers on the page. I just think it's fun to use, and I like how it looks when I add it to the portraits. One of the last things that I typically use for my mixed media pages are inks, acrylic inks. I use them for splatters, and sometimes I use them for outlines on the portraits, but I just use it sparingly, and I try to blend it into the other watercolor. So this is how I finished it in this painting session. I wasn't that happy with it, but that's okay. These are some of the supplies I used: my swatch paper, colored pencils, the acrylic ink, and a watercolor palette and brushes. The next day I came back and I worked on the portrait a little more. I chose to change the shape of her chin, and I did it by gently because I didn't want to ruin it. I used soft pastels and I used painting sticks, water soluble painting sticks. I used the watercolor brush and some water to lift the shadow. I used a small eyeshadow blender to blend in some of the color from the soft pastels, and I also used it to blend in color from the painting sticks. And I also have this small makeup brush. It's really soft, and I use that to also blend in the color into the page. I used to use gesso a lot to change my art journal pages, but now I like to use a more calmer and gentle approach, and I like to lift colors, try to shift things in a slower way. Here you can see the side by side of the change that I made, and even though it's not perfect, I like it a lot better. I hope you liked seeing that flip through and painting process today, and I'll see you next time.